Hi guys, welcome to another episode. Today we're going to work on independence, keeping a pattern of 5 with our feet and playing all the 16 subdivisions on top of it with our hands so that we get used to controlling and hearing every subdivisions, playing like first 16 notes, second 16 notes, third, fourth, then first and second, or 5 on top of 5, 7 on top of 5, 4 on top of 5, and all these combinations, so that we can kind of like get over our usual 4/4 patterns and expand a little bit our knowledge and our understanding of hearing, odd times pattern and playing them one on top of each other. So I will play a pattern with my feet. And then while I speed this up, I will have to introduce some techniques to be able to play this. So let's see how the pattern is, and then we'll talk about the techniques. Okay, so as we can hear, the pattern is subdivided with the 2 bass drum kicks and then 3 left foot hits, which for me I'm gonna play on a little snare that I mounted, so that I have a different sound, and this can make it a little bit harder for a sounding matter, for a hearing matter. But then on the other side, I make sure that I am always playing the right pattern and I don't get confused with the only the bass drum sound, which can be confusing sometimes. So I like that. You can use this, the hi-hat, you can use anything else on the left or right foot depending on how you like it, but yeah, so playing it at this speed, of course I can use only leg motion, and it's not necessary for me to have a specific technique. But then when I'll speed this up, of course I can keep the strokes that I play with my right foot leg motions, because even if I speed this up a lot, there's still gonna be enough space between the strokes to use only leg motion. But then the double stroke that I play with my left foot, at one point it will need some kind of technique to be able to play. And it's very important to play, to think of the technique in this kind of pattern, because it's kind of already hard to play it, and if we have issues in actually executing the pattern, then it will be probably impossible to do this exercise. So it's good to master this pattern before getting in the subdivisions with our hands and playing something on top of this. What I use to as a technique to do the double stroke is the slide technique, which is the one that I prefer because it gives me a nice double stroke sound also on the second stroke. So okay, both of the strokes are loud. I don't have one louder than the other or anything like that. So if I'll go from slow to fast introducing the technique, it will be something like this. Okay, so as you can see, my left foot will start to play a single stroke with my leg motion, and then a double stroke with the slide technique involving the ankle more. So something like this. So okay, you want to maybe practice this before getting into the exercise, just to make sure and just to avoid any problem further into the exercise. But once we have this and we figure the technique that we want to play, we'll be able to start playing all the subdivisions. I call this the alphabet because it goes from the very first 16 notes to playing 7 on top of whatever I'm playing. And then you could also go on playing 8, 9, 10, whatever it is, but from 1 to 7 we'll go through all the type of 16 subdivisions that basically exist, so that we will have a good amount of knowledge to improvise at one point on top of the pattern. And we will work on two different kind of controls. It's going to be the physical control, so knowing where each stroke lands physically, and we'll get into this in a minute, and a hearing control, so that we know exactly how this sound, and we can recognize always where we are in the bars, in the 5 or in the 4/3, whatever we're playing. Okay, so I'll give you a demonstration of how this would sound, so that we start to understand what I'm talking about, and then I'll break everything down and explain each step so that we can work on it. So playing all these 16 subdivision notes on top of a 5 pattern strokes, it's not so easy, and there's a specific reason why it's not easy. It's because we only have one brain, and we're playing many different things at the same time, and we can think about more than one thing. So where do we put our concentration when we do these kind of things? Let's break it down and understand exactly how can we develop a hearing control and learn how to hear, first of all, what we're doing, so that we're not completely lost in all this, but we have some references, and references are what we have to build to be able to work and execute on this type of things. So if we break our feet pattern down, and we get rid of the extra notes and keep only the main notes, we can hear that, for example, we can keep only our right foot strokes. It's going to sound okay. If we start working on this, having this in mind, and use this as a reference and play everything else on top of this, then it will start to become easier. For example, we can work on the first 16 notes and hear how it would sound on top of just this foot pattern with our right foot. So the first accent would sound like this. Okay, so basically simplify what we hear and what we have to think of makes everything easier. At this point, we can use this bass drum pattern as a reference to play everything on top of this. So basically, I hear the bass drum pattern in reference to whatever accent I'm playing on top of that, so that I will start having the control, having that kind of understanding of how this specific, position sound on top of 5. Then everything else I can add later once I have the perfect control, and it will be much easier. So that basically simplifying, getting rid of information that we're sending to our brain will make everything easier. Then of course we will also have to build physical references so that we know exactly how the notes land. So that would be also something that I would keep, for example, the bass drum pattern, the feet pattern going, and I will play only my hands on top of this, so that I will learn how these accents land and the position in which they land. So, for example, something like this. Okay, so this is going to be more of a physical reference because I will still have a lot of notes. I will still be playing a lot of notes, but the fact that we have the main muscles involved in this, so that we have only, for example, on top of the pattern itself that we're playing, we only work on the bigger muscles motions. That's going to be an easier connection instead of having all the other little motions that we have to do, playing the taps on the snare and so on. And having the main motions will allow us to just create this unconscious thing of having the hands falling in this way, because the motion is going to be constant. So we cannot play this without the awareness of what's happening and without really hearing what's happening, but it will be correct. And if we develop the right motion, will be correct, because it becomes a habit to our body and brain to just play these motions. Okay, so these are the two different type of references that we have to build. Of course, the hearing reference will be the stronger every time, because that's what will allow us, when we feel like lost, to go and concentrate only on that one part of the drums that we will know which one it is that we have to concentrate on, and then the accent, and just understand where we are in what we're doing. Okay, so that will be the best part. But then sometimes, when you improvise and when you play, you also have to have the muscular memories working, and we have to build those muscular memories just by playing the pattern and playing the accents on top of that. Okay, let's speed this up and introduce the technique that we need to work on this, and let's see how it sounds. And then we can also try to improvise on top of this, and try to be a little bit more free and start to understand how everything would sound without having a circle of notes playing, but just being free and playing the accents wherever we feel like to. So let's try this. Okay, great. So again, first thing of all, we should work on learning the pattern itself and understanding how what technique we can use to play, the double stroke on our left foot, and make sure that we have perfect control of that pattern. Then we'll start playing all the accents on top of this. And whenever we have hard times in understanding or playing something, we can get rid of notes, we can get rid of the left foot, we can get rid of the taps on the snare, whatever it is, and just hear and understand how that specific part sounds and works. And then so we can do a session of just playing our right foot pattern and all the subdivisions on top of that, and then the other way around, play the feet pattern and only the accent on top of this, so that we get really used to both, having control in both ways, and then put everything together, speed it up, apply the techniques, and then improvise on top of this and understand how to expand and apply all these subdivisions onto a 5 strokes pattern. Then you can change the pattern, and you can become creative and just go on doing all the subdivisions, and just make your own personal workout out of this. So have a good practice, and I'll see you next time.